So this first one, we're talking about finding and activating influencers. I know that's what brought you all here. You just love the thought of that. So we'll see if the clicker's going to work. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of giving credit where it's due, right? Community Foundation. This is fantastic. We're in third year event right here. That's free Danishes. That's a good day whenever you got that, right? But it's just great the amount of support they put into this, into these organizations and everything. So I always like to start with that. It's a little early for clapping, so I won't make you clap. But maybe you could just turn and give them a quick little gracious head nod or something like that. We'll use your fingers out. So the other thing, a little bit about me. So I've been working in nonprofit technology specifically for quite a while, but I came a wandering path, right? All my formal education is land management, wilderness, the legal exclusion of technology. Sort of a funny place. And then 10 years in social work, about 8 years doing consulting, where I worked at nonprofits, I helped other nonprofits. And then the last 2.5 years, I guess approaching 3, I've been working at NTEN as an education director. So design, develop, implement all of our sort of training programs, both in person and online. That's it. That's enough about me. NTEN, I'm not here to do a real hard sell. Anybody here heard of NTEN before? Been to an event, something, got an email, right? We do a whole bunch of stuff. We have a really big annual conference that moves around the country. We've got some in-person events here in town, a whole lot of online stuff. New nonprofit technology professional certificate we launched. So there's some good stuff there. And when it's not this hour, you can go and check it out and learn more if you want to. Or you can come and ask me questions after. Super happy to answer them, but not here to give you the hard sell on us. All right? So a little bit of the agenda, just so you know where we're going. Again, the idea is to make this feel more like a conversation and not just me talking at you. I know there's coffee, so you can't use that as an excuse. We'll slowly let it percolate, let you warm up. But again, this is your time, and the way this is the most valuable is if you answer like the question you came here to get answered. So if we're not getting at it in here, throw it out, because I'm guessing if you've got that question, someone else at your table or in the room probably has the same question. So it's worth throwing it out so we can all walk away with what we came here to get. Does that make sense? All right, you hold me accountable, I'll hold you accountable. Well, it'll be a good morning. So, influencers. And just that word, it's a pretty loaded word. Who here wants to share sort of like in the brain when I say influencer? What does that mean to you?
Someone that affects the behavior of others.
Do they affect the behavior of others?
It's a referral.
It's a referral. Anyone else?
Impact points.
Impact points. I like this guy. He likes the strategy. I like that. Anyone else? Anyone have a negative reaction just hearing the word? It's all right. We can do the cone of silence. No shaming each other outside the event because you're like, you don't like influence. Nobody? Anybody just neutral? Like it's just a thing. Is everyone here neutral? Thank you for the honesty. So everyone else here is just like pumped. I love it. The influencers. All right. So the first thing I want to do, right? Because one of the first things that pops into your brain, you go, influencer. Oh, these are famous people that have tons of followers on social media. They're very famous, right? Like, obviously famous people influence people. But I want to encourage you to avoid sort of those vanity metrics and numbers. And remember, right, everything we do, mission focused. There is a goal here. So the first thing, right? We are trying to influence someone to do something. That's what we want. So honestly, someone with 100,000 followers on their Twitter profile, but if they're not connected to your cause, they're not connected to your community, and somehow you got them to like put the word out. Here's this event, right? But nobody actually does anything because it's a disconnect and it doesn't make any sense. You got someone who only has 10 friends, but when they ask and they say, hey, I'm into this thing, I volunteer here, would you be willing to support? And they get 8 people to actually give you 25 bucks. This is your winner. This is your influencer. So I just want to set that context right out of the gate, because a lot of times people go like, well, I don't know, we don't have any famous people on our board, or we don't have any big, influential political people in the community, right? So everything I'm talking about here, it comes down to the action. What it is you really want people to do. And in this context, right, what's that? What are we hoping people are going to do?
Give money.
Give money. We can be honest, speaking on what it is here. We also want them to engage. We want them to learn about us, right? There's multiple goals. Ultimately, this is a giving day training. This is what we're talking about, right? So I want us to think about then where these champions live. And we oftentimes forget the very first layer, right? Staff. I'm guessing because you work, volunteer, both at a nonprofit, you kind of care about it, right? There's a little bit of passion. You're invested in the cause. You're invested in the issues. That's really why you're there. You're doing the work. I know it's not because you're getting filthy rich, right? If you were getting filthy rich, you wouldn't be in the training on how to get money, right? So we always forget about this. Your first line of champions and ambassadors for your organizations should be your staff. So as we go through this and we talk about tools and tips and resources, I think it's also helpful to note that just like the rest of your supporters and your champions, like, are you setting up these internal champions for success? Because we'll see this all the time in organizations. People go, yeah, staff should be ambassadors. It's like, cool. Have you ever talked to them about that? Have you ever talked about it as a team? Have you ever actually done anything to set them up for success to be a champion for you? And most organizations are like, oh no. We just say, hey, you should go out and champion. You should donate to the organization you work at. Well, that's sort of weird, right? But there's lots of ways people can be champions and influence. That isn't just about giving their own money, right? The next level, your board. How many people here work at organizations where you have a working board, right? You're super small, board staff really blur the lines, right? How many have sort of more that governance? They really just their governance. Well, no matter what type of board you've got, they should be fundraising for you, right? I mean, they hold the legal obligation for your corporation, all this sort of stuff. The board members should all be fundraisers. That should be an assumption. That's just part of what they do. And I'm not saying they all need to go out and secure that like $50,000 donation, but that's part of their role at every nonprofit organization, right? So again, is this just an expectation you sort of plop out there in the next board meeting? Or do you actually talk to them about how as a group can you be strategic? What can we do to support you in supporting the organization? Social delivery, joined by another person in the interwebs. Thank you, everybody. So you'll probably hear that. As people are joining online, they didn't explain that at the beginning. This is being recorded. It's going through a Zoom meeting. So that's not like my own personal cue to say, time for a joke, Ash. That's just someone joined in the meeting. So again, so how many people, raise your hand if at any level you have actually had conversations and made efforts to engage your staff or board members as like champions for your organization? Quite a few. That's good to see. How many folks feel like it's been real successful? This guy, I've seen him for 3 years in a row, and he's always got his hand on the back. I love it. I'm going to make him come up here next year and run half of this. Right? So that's good. So a lot of folks have tried it. Fewer folks feel like it's been super successful. So hopefully keep in mind, right, some of the resources, tools we talk about today absolutely can work for that same group of people. Right? So the next level, the next group, right? Existing donors, volunteers, people that share their limited resources with you, right? Be it money, be it time, be it expertise. Like they're already invested in your cause and your issue, but they're also already invested in you as an organization, right? So at a certain level, because this is the thing with the giving days, right? This is part of the challenge. Yes, you're raising money. Yes, you're getting matching funds, but like look around the room. So we're a bunch of other organizations on that day, right? So So there's some differences that happen with giving days versus normal fundraising stuff. A lot of times you can rely on the cause, the issue. People's personal connection to that is really what can sort of like make that point for you. But even more so in giving days is you have to really highlight and help them understand that their connection through you and your organization is what gives them the best opportunity to make an impact on that cause and issue, right? I mean, are there multiple people here that do youth services? Raise your hand if you do youth services, like as a broad category. Animal welfare, support. Education, you got a few folks. Health, human services, right? So there's a few things, but there is something that each of your groups do that's a little more niche, that's a little bit different. So that's part of what you're trying to connect, right? Donors and volunteers, you've already made that pitch. You've already bought into it at a certain level. So it's a great place to start. And then you've got your further out ring, right, supporters. So again, these are sort of a little further out in the network, maybe not directly attached or maybe casually attached. Oftentimes that group are actually the friends and family of people in the further in rings, right? Thinking about them as existing champions, target champions, right? General public is not a target audience, right? Not everybody cares about every cause and issue at the super high level, right? So you're trying to find the people that you get the Venn diagram, right? What you want to see happen in the world, what they want to see happen in the world. Your organization creates the channel where it can happen for both of you. That's why it's a win and it's beneficial, right? Does that make sense? So now, I want to ask you though, and we're going to do a little activity here. So who are your champions? This is great at this really high level, right? And it's super easy to go, yeah, of course. And then what usually happens, right? What happens, say, 24 hours from now? You're gone and you're like, yeah, those pastries were pretty good. And I got this sort of lingering warm fuzzy feeling it was an all right training, but I'm not actually sure how I'm supposed to do something different with my day or be more efficient at my job, right? And if that's all you've got by tomorrow, then I've failed you. So we're going to jump into this. So you can see I got some index cards on the table. A few more folks than I thought were coming. So if we're running out of cards, let me know, and I got some more we can put on there. But I want to do something. I want you to find a buddy. And again, if you're here with someone else from your organization, find someone you don't already kind of know, someone who's new to you. And I want you to go through a process here. And oh, this one actually isn't on the index cards. That's coming later. This is just conversation. Because again, I wanted to ease you into it. I'll make you write and use your full brain later. And this could just be the talking part. But find a buddy, and I want you to work through these things. So who are your champions? So again, not at this broad level, be like, well, it's our volunteers in a general sense. Right. It's these specific people that volunteer with this program, or we have long-term volunteers versus single event volunteers. And then start to talk about like, okay, how do you know that those are champions? Is it a gut feeling? Do you have a database that your organization is using? And I can say, listen, Sally has volunteered with us for 7 years. Or do I just say, Sally, she's been there forever. She's got to be a champion, right? She keeps showing up. Right, so I want you to have to actually think through that and then say it out loud, because there's something about being accountable and having to sort of own and be honest if you're saying it out loud to another person instead of just nodding and sipping coffee. And then a little bit on that, like, how accurate do you think your system is? Is it really just at a hunch level? Is this like educated guess? Like, well, we keep track of who donors are, we keep track of volunteers, but I couldn't tell you who's been here for more than 2 years versus 5 years versus 10. Or is it like, it's data driven? Ding, ding. Like, I could pull a report and I could tell you, and I could give you a segmented list of who falls into which categories and level of engagement, right? Let's go ahead and find somebody here. The other note throughout the day, right, please take care of yourselves. You got a 3-hour stretch. You need food, get food. You need the restrooms, they're out the door to the left. You just need to stand and stretch. Feel free to stand up. There's going to be nothing weird about it.
You like travelers, I'm like, where's more room?
It's too much. So just a quick note that if you haven't switched yet, you might want to switch to make sure both people are getting a chance to work through the process here. But just we'll keep going for a few more minutes, but just this note, trying to help those that like to talk, that are working with an introvert. We're going to give it just 2 more minutes. So if you've got a thought going, you got a little space to wrap it up. All right, let's start wrapping it up. We can bring it back to the main room here. All right, if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. All right, we got most of us here. Well, that's good. You didn't have to get to like 4 or 5 or working to a full comma there. That was good. So before we jump into some of the reporting out stuff, and I do this at most presentations, definitely the last 2 with Kim. So I'm very visual. So whenever we have people interact, I'm always a big fan of the nonverbal. All right? Anyone else here notice anything about nonverbals with either the person you're talking to or what you saw in the room? What were some of the gestures? What were some of the motions? Because there were some super common themes of things happening across the room, and it was fun to see them actually change. Say like minute 2 versus minute 5 versus near the end. Anybody? And of course, I've set you up, right? You didn't know you're supposed to look for this, and typically we don't take the time to stop and think about it. Anybody?
I'm not sure if this completely answers you, but I noticed in our conversation, I became more confident hearing what she was saying. That made me, I guess, more confident in my own answers to those. And so that kind of felt, as the conversation went on more of a thing rather than me transferring taking notes of what she was saying.
Yeah. And why did you feel more confident? You realize you weren't alone, or someone else had a worse system. You were like, yeah.
I'm not brand new to this,
Yeah.
and so more, I had ideas on what my answers were, but hearing hers kind of assured me that, okay, I'm not completely off track here.
Yep.
I do know more than I.
Yeah. So I'll admit, we're here to learn how to raise some more money I have all kinds of ulterior motives, right? I am also just as invested in you guys making connections with people that are in your community and just other people, right? Because very common in this nonprofit space, especially once you add technology on top of nonprofit, right? Feels so easy to feel like overwhelmed, feel alone, and again, feel like I'm just firing things off in the dark here. I guess we'll see how they work, right? I mean, just right here. There's a lot of people in the room, and just connecting and talking and sharing ideas with other people can be really reaffirming, and to be honest, helps. They're little wins, right? They're the boosts we need to keep going to do this stuff. Giving days, they're a lot of work. They take a lot of energy, right? Take advantage, build some supports in here, all this kind of stuff, right? And the other thing, right? There's clearly, and anybody here has done this previously, last year, the last 2 years. You always raise your hand. Yay, gold. So, I mean, even just with giving days, with Give More 24, right? There's people in here with experience. There are resources right here to take advantage of and learn from as well, right? So part of what I'm sneaking in. Right, so some of these things, nonverbal, especially through like the first half of this. This was like 3 people at each table at any given moment. These were the gestures that were going along with what they're saying, right? What kind of gestures are these? What do they imply? Italian. No. Well, I don't know. It didn't get too loud, right? But these are open, right? So what does that sort of hint at? Questions. I have some ideas. I'm still sort of physically grasping at like the concrete answers though, right? And it'd be this, and then it'd be sort of this. So there's like, we got some ideas, but I don't really know how it really plays out, right? So very much within the room, right? There's some people with some ideas, but there's a lot of people still sort of working on this. Still sort of going forward, right? Another one. There's a lot of this. A lot of looking up, right? You're like trying to look back into your own brain to magically find the answer, or you're looking up because I don't know, answers are always above for some reason. They're rarely down here, right? So those happen a lot. And then we hit the midway point, and another thing happened. People were leaning forward, right? When we started out, people are back. People are like, hey, what's that? I don't really know you, but let me share about me and expose my vulnerabilities to you, right? But even after just a few minutes of engaging as humans with other people, you start to get more comfortable. But you also start to get more invested. You're leaning forward. By the time we're getting to the end, right, I didn't tell anyone to take notes. There's lots of people that were taking notes, right? So again, like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. I hadn't even thought about that because, you know, different organizations, different organizational culture, to be honest, you come up with different approaches and ideas. So it's really neat to see that, I mean, honestly, 3 to 4 people at each table do the first half doing this. So again, just to reinforce it, like where you're at, there's other people at the same spot, there's people to learn from, to give and get is always there, right? Most of you have something to get. That's why you drove here, why you wandered through the campus maze, right? But most of you also have something to give. Be it a war story, be it a tip, be it a question that someone else wasn't comfortable asking, but you sort of asked on their behalf. So just a good reminder, because I'm as much about community as I am some of the specific content. The other thing, like I said, we're all going to hold each other accountable. Thank you. So instead of having you share your stuff, I want you to share some information about your buddy. I'm going to check and see who was really listening. And some of you, you're thinking ahead. You wrote some notes down. You might be ahead, right? So we're not going to have everybody do this. But I want a few volunteers to share about their buddy and answer some of these questions. And again, I'm super happy to take volunteers. I'm super happy to just let the finger fly and pick people from the crowd. Circling. Yeah.
We didn't get to run 2 questions, but we were talking about our champions, and we were all talking about our board members and how we get our board members to give and participate.
Does it feel, so I guess you know they're champions because they're technically a board member. So like that keeps you clearly defined.
Passionate about the program.
Yeah. It it's a huge reminder. We often think board members, right? And we're like, man, I mean, start getting into our business, but like, they are volunteers. They are super volunteers. I mean, how often does someone say, I'm willing to volunteer to be legally responsible for that thing? A nonprofit, right? And that's a huge level of commitment in terms of volunteering. And it's not usually like, oh, I'll be on the board for a month. I mean, these people are there for anywhere from 2, 4 to 6 to 8 years, you know, depending on your bylaws and all that kind of stuff. Some of them even longer, right? So it's good that it's a great reminder to think of them in that fashion as well.
And how to bridge that, because some we were discussing, some are paper net boards, or there's some kind of requirement there, but if there's not, how to bridge that, you know, yes, we appreciate your service, but this is part of your role as well.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get them there? Like, it's just
And it's a tricky dance, because to be honest, like, they set bylaws, you know, they sort of set a certain amount of what the organization is, but the organization also really sets the organizational culture and expects. So it is this back and forth of, you know, I hear board members all the time be like, I'm not a fundraising person. Well, if you're on a board, you're a fundraiser.
yeah, it'd be nice to-
And even if it's only $100, like whatever sort of fits in your world, but like you're a fundraiser. You are a spokesperson, you are a champion. So it is, and it really depends too, because especially if you've had a working board, but now you've shifted and you're working with a governance board, you know, like there's a lot of shifts and tricky stuff that comes in there. So I'm glad you guys were able to share some tips, it sounds like, hopefully. Yeah.
My buddy and I had shared the same situation, that we have board members who are older people, not used to fundraising and certainly not knowledgeable about social media.
Right.
The majority of them, as well as a lot of our volunteers too. So our challenge is, how do we find those few people on the board that even know social media and use it, as well as the volunteers, since our demographics skew older, that people that may not be interested or knowledgeable about how to use the tools we're using for Humor 24. So that's our challenge.
Yeah. And there's a spectrum. You know, like I say this all the time, like what I'm trying to give you today is a menu. Pick the things that make sense. Don't pick them all. You never go in a restaurant and be like, what do you recommend? I recommend everything today. Like, nope. Right? So as you go through this, certain things will fit, right? You know, so like with your organization, it would make no sense for us, like, you need to get a Snapchat account today. You need to get, well, it's like, no. If it doesn't fit with your community, don't, you know? So it's like, still within that demographic, like email is digital, obviously, promo for my own session in an hour and a half or so. But, you know, the tools that fit, there's still room for that digital and that engagement opportunity. But again, like, pick the pieces that work for you. Don't feel like I don't get commission from Facebook for telling you got to set up a page or something like that, right? So anyone else? Anyone get past the board circle?
We talked about how Humor 24 has been a challenge for our organizations because it's a culture shift in fundraising, in that I don't know how to say this delicately. A lot of our previous, supporters were older, and they would just write a $5,000 check every year, and they are passing on. And our younger, donors only give like 10, 20 bucks at a time, which is really important. But trying to get everyone, board, staff, volunteers, to recognize that 10, 20 bucks, like, that's still important. We're not going to be able to go out and find someone to write a $5,000 check who's never donated to us before. And so, just kind of navigating and using this as a tool and an opportunity to get better at fundraising in this really changing culture around fundraising.
The types of donations, the types of people donate, it's all very different when you got these sort of like, giving day, crowdfunding, peer-to-peer type campaigns. And also, like, outside of these events, where does money typically come from? You got a fund development person, maybe you got like a grant person, but a lot of the rest of the organization, like, they're just not involved, right? And now all of a sudden you're like, we're putting on this event this day. Guess what, program staff? you're a fundraiser now too. And so at a lot of levels, culture shift of like, what does this mean? And fundraising isn't about like just enough of these in-person meet and greets to eventually get that check. It's like, well, you start with that $25 thing, then how do we over the year or the years, right? Like, how do we have someone donate this year who gives $500, who gave a $25 donation at the first give more 24? So it's this like longer term play, and how do you do it throughout the year, not just in that like 24-hour window. So all that can be tricky. Anyone else here want to share their buddy's story?
We have talked about clients as champions. When you have people who have successfully gone through a program, they can make great champions when they will share their story.
Yeah, an enormous asset, right? If I stand up here and I'm like, yeah, NTEN's awesome. You should trust me because I worked there, right? It means almost nothing compared to a program participant who says, you know what, I did the training and it was helpful. It's totally different. We do the same thing. We try and leverage all the time. Somebody who's completed their professional certificate. It's like, have them share what it means. You know, we even try and connect them directly to people that just, what was useful, what wasn't? Because there's only a win, right? If expectations are a good fit for everyone. So that's great. Program participants, you know, especially if it's a type of program where they were able to participate because of support from somewhere else, right? Like, I got to do this thing for free because the organization was able to make it happen. Huge value can come out of that stuff.
Instead of just asking our current donors for more money, we can make that perhaps a little bit less aggressive by saying, we're asking if you can contribute more, that would be wonderful, particularly if there's a chance to double your money, if you give more 24. But saying if you can't do that, we would want you to share information about us to your peer group, because it's similar to when you have a repair job at your house. Who do you go to find a roof repairman? You don't look through the yellow pages. You ask a friend, "Oh, you had a roof replaced. Did they do a good job?" So get your volunteers, your donors to give information to the people they contact and recommend them, saying, if you're looking for a charity, this is one that I support. I volunteer there. They do great stuff.
Yeah.
I think I take that one step further, and it's not necessarily asking people for more. It's just being strategic with what they're always giving. So if you can frame it that way and get it on that specific day or put it into a matching fund, you can double their gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily asking them for more, just being strategic with it on the day.
Yeah, you normally give $100, and I notice it usually comes in October.
Right, that's exactly
If
right.
you gave that 2 weeks earlier, we'd actually make it $200. And it's like, oh, I mean, how many people have done that? They actually donated because they saw there was a matching thing.
What's that?
How many people personally have decided to donate at a particular time or to an organization because they saw matching? I've done it 2 different times. Like, I honestly had no intention of donating to Operation Smile that particular year at my other orgs, right? There was like amazing match come in, and I was like, you know what? I like you guys a lot. And because I can double my money, I love that. If I can give 100 but feel like I gave 200, that makes me feel so good, right?
We debate, we sent out a letter, I sent out a letter asking our volunteers and donors if they would contribute to the Give More 24 in the matching program. And I felt conflicted by suggesting that they do what you said, because in order for it to be really double, it truly has to be more money than they would have otherwise given. For example, to go after a person that donates $100 a month to say, next month we should use the money to here because it'll be doubling, and then we advertise it as doubling, when really it's not doubling.
Yeah,
It's money
yeah.
that's coming in.
I mean, it's definitely tricky. Like, if you start talking to your sustainers, or you do long-term, and you start mixing that with a particular one-day campaign, you know, like, you can definitely create a rat's nest of messaging to people. So you gotta be careful who you're trying to target and do some of that. Last year, shared a framework and model that was all about like community layers, but sort of like what you're saying is that a lot of times you can embed the ask, right? Like, people that already give to you, and if they've given to you the last 5 years, like, you don't need to ask them to give, but by asking them to just share their voice and to help spread the word, and that's the real value. To be honest, they're going to give in that process anyways, but it's now changed the relationship to where they know you see them as that champion. And they're like, wow, just my voice is valuable to you. And you'd be amazed how much that little, let's call it what it is, right? That little ego boost, you find you get a little nudge in the actual amount that they donated as well, because they now see themselves in a more influential role for your org. So yeah, so there's definitely some stuff in there. All right, so I'm going to keep us going along here. So I want to talk about supporter toolkit. Media kit versus toolkit, right? Media kits are this pretty classic thing. I still have organizations be like, we're going to get our media kit ready. Oop. So how those work, right? They're somewhat passive. Sometimes you'll send them to specific folks, but a lot of times media kit is like, we're going to put this thing on the website. And then all the news channels and everyone, they're going to come and they're going to get our information and share it. I mean, it's passive at best most of the time, and those channels, they've lost a lot of their sort of role, right? To be honest, media and things like that, they spend a lot of their time now actually trying to source their news stories through social and other real-time channels because they're trying to compete with that pace, right? So that middle role that you're hoping is going to be your amplifier to the community, that role is sort of lessening. And then that weakens trust. We don't have to get in the whole fake news conversation, but just in general, right? Like, where do you get your news? It's now also coming through referrals, right? Oh, my friend shared this article, so I'm going to spend my time reading that rather than going to this newspaper website, things like that, right? So that whole process is sort of shifted. So instead, focus your limited energy on the toolkit. And really, how do you share your toolkit through your champions? You've got people activated, ready to advocate for you. You're giving them this whole set of resources to make it easy to do that. And they're going to do it. Like, they'll go out and they'll actually use those things to spread it. So you're far more likely to actually hit that outer supporter ring by focusing on giving the right stuff to the right people. And again, that, like, is it about big numbers and vanity metrics, or is it about getting the people that will actually do the thing? So to make this tangible, a couple reminders whenever we talk about toolkit, right? Like, you don't have to have every tool. You don't have to use every one. And tools are only useful if you use them. So if you're completely uncomfortable with something, it's probably not the place to focus your energy, right? Build over time, right? We all start out with a hammer and a screwdriver. 10 years later, man, I got all kinds of crap sitting around the garage, these funky tools. I need it now, I don't need it then, but like, you build it over time, right? So go through some of this. So when we're talking about this toolkit to help support your champions, right? Sample social media posts. What is this? Right? Here's an example tweet. Here's an example Facebook post. Here's an image that you could go ahead and share on your own Instagram account. Right? If I have to go create that image myself, I might not. But if it's right there and it's a great, all I got is like 2 clicks and I can share this for you and that feels like I'm supporting you, it's super easy. And I have some like tangible examples of ways that these things get organized and people share them and all that kind of stuff. Is that a question? Okay. Right, so there's the first one. These are pretty common. We see these a lot. They go out, sample tweet, sample Facebook post. Or the simple thing, once you've shared it, asking people to just go reshare, repost, like, comment. You know, those are super easy things that, again, just sort of help carry and amplify. Infographics and info snaps. I say info snaps because I know a lot of you have heard Nolan talk about them, and you might get a little reminder next week. Right, but again, visual storytelling in little chunks. And infographics are great because if you've got one, you can also chunk them. Right, one infographic can usually be chunked into anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5, 6 different little chunks that are also each a social, shareable asset.
Quick question. Is this going to, your PowerPoint going to be on the Introvert website?
Yeah, so
we don't have to write this all down?
No, you don't have to write all these things down. That would be crazy. That's I didn't give you a stack of paper, right? So there's a shortened link where you can get a digital copy of all this because that's what most people actually want. And then I imagine they'll put it on their site like they do every year. But again, like at the end of this, it's a link where you can go and grab digital copies of all this stuff anyway. Yeah, so again, like this is great for some organizations. For some groups, this feels like kind of a stretch, but just part of the overall toolkit. Shareable videos. Who here has created videos and uploaded it to YouTube, Vimeo, something like that? I know some of you have, because I saw them on profiles the last few years, right? Why'd you do that? I can see you saying it to yourself. You might as well say it a little louder.
Because for us, everybody likes to see kids doing fun and happy things. So,
Right? Storytelling. We're storytelling creatures, us humans and our giant brains with our eyes up front. A video just feeds a whole lot of information, but more importantly, feeds a whole lot of emotion, which is what makes that personal connection for folks. And this has become increasingly easier, right? Did anybody make those videos just using like their phone camera, a little flip camera? A few folks. Some people do a little heavier production, maybe a little nicer camera, a little more editing done. I mean, the full spectrum works. It's not like you got to have some $20,000 budget to put together your 2-minute video. You don't even need video footage to put together some of your videos, right? There's some tools that can help you do that. Blog posts. So again, if you've got people in your community that are bloggers and they like to do that kind of stuff, and it's a way that they can support and share their voice, either giving people sample blog content, you can also just give them topic ideas. But having them do that and know that, like, great, I want you to post and start sharing that like the day before or the day of the big event, right? It's another easy thing to say, oh, I've got some skills, and I didn't even realize that me writing a blog post and sharing it would be helpful for you. So great, I'll contribute that way. And again, you give, like, the hardest part of the blog post, right? What's the idea and what's the couple of main points you're trying to include? If you give that to me, it's like, oh, I just got to fill the words in around it. Then you also have consistency of your story and your voice across what your community is sharing. Sample email copy. This isn't quite as common, right, for people to go and send out their own personal, but again, say, hey, if you want to invite your friends and family, here's 2 quick paragraphs that you could just drop into an email. And again, I'm pretty happy to copy and paste and make it look like I wrote something eloquent to my friends and family and have it support a group I like. So the last one, other. This is catch-all, but it's a nice reminder, right? Like, I got all kinds of digital stuff I'm throwing at you. Anybody here do in-person events on the day of, right? You have buttons, right? You've got some other tangible things, some physical things that usually go with in-person events, or maybe you send out letters, like physical letters, you mail it out to people ahead of time, right? So there are other assets that you can think about. So imagine, even if you're doing physical mail, we're going to go all the way back to that, right? If you sent me a letter with the information, and then you also said, hey, here's a letter and an extra envelope for you to simply pass this on to a friend. And it's already a pre-written letter that says, hey, I work, in that person's voice. I connect with this organization, and I think you should support them as well. Right? So just this idea, give people things to make it easy to do what you want them to do. And don't get too hung up that it's only possible in the digital realm, right? You can get stickers and buttons for dirt cheap. And people love those things. They go crazy for those things. And they will wear those things the day after. And they will be on backpacks. And they will be in these, like, these are some nice takeaways as well if you do the in-person event stuff. So, we had an activity here. Trying to keep us, we got 40 minutes, so we can maybe just take one, just so you can sort of work through this process. So this is the index cards on the table in front of you. So I want you to think out of that whole toolkit, right? I want you to identify sort of what's the item. Like, it's a video, it's going to be sample social things, assets needed, timeline to develop, deadline. So I'm going to have you actually walk through a tiny bit of planning here. And again, we'll only do this for maybe 5 minutes or so. Here's a little example. So I know some of you are like, what the hell are you talking about, Ash? So here's sort of an example of what you might write out and why this is helpful. Because a lot of times you think, well, yeah, 2-minute video. It's 2 minutes. How long can that take? But if you think about it, you're like, well, we need to sort of plan. We need to actually gather the content. We need to do even just some base level editing of saying like title slide and an end slide that says go to our Give More 24 profile, right? There is some stuff you have to do. And then to be honest, anybody here have other things they have to do on a daily basis besides this task, right? Right? So in total, it could be a task that takes you 5 hours. But knowing what else is happening in your world during the summer, you actually need to give yourself a month to actually get this done. Why? Because Jake, who has to get final approval, is on vacation for 2 weeks in July, right? Okay, great. So I got a plan around that. So to have this ready by September 1st, a couple of weeks before the event, and it's going to take me a month, I need to get started on this thing here in a couple of weeks, right? So take one of those cards and work through that for just one of those areas. So again, I'll hop back to the full list. You can sort of see what those are for a moment. So let everyone get a sense of which one they want to pick, and then I'll jump forward to that slide that tells you what to do on your card. Everyone got their item? Moving back from the list. Got to animate for the folks in the interwebs. All right. Jumping back up to the example. And so the other thing you might find is you don't completely know what you have to do yet to get that thing ready. And if you're in that situation, just note that as well, because that's something you will forget by tomorrow just as much as everything else, right? So be like, ooh, I really want to be able to focus on this thing. A next step is discussing, do we have any graphics I could already share, or do we have to start those from scratch? I don't know. I got to talk to someone who's on our communications team, right? But that at least gives you something to do after you leave here, be able to move things forward. Give this a couple more minutes. Know that there's a break coming at 40 after, so you'll be able to get more danishes, coffee, bathroom break. It's surprising when you take a simple task and you say, oh, sample email copy. And then you put it into reality and you're like, oh, so one person writes it, another person reviews, third person approves it, and then a fourth person actually puts it somewhere. Right? Things get a little more complicated quickly. All right, I'm going to keep us moving here. Just do the last section of slides. So, I'm always a fan of sharing some practical examples. So in terms of how like a supporter toolkit could look, so here's an example, right? Just a like medium-sized organization, SOS Children's Villages. So this is a page on their website. So what's nice about this, right, it's branded, it looks very polished in terms of tweeting things or sharing things, like it's all already living in the browser, it's in the digital space. I also like that they embed their tweets. So again, it's really easy to see, oh, there's a tweet, I could just retweet that and send it out right from this page, right? So this is good. This feels very polished, very branded. A lot of times, this is also just a public page, right? I just wandered into this on their website. This is what we do a lot at NTEN. It's just a Google Doc. What's nice about this is we can have 4 or 5 different staff members that keep it updated. And it's just a link we share with sort of specific people, promotional partners, speakers, things like that. It's just a series of links that go to either images or documents or other places on the website, things like that, right? Very low tech, pretty easy. I like this. This is the World Health Organization, right? Their kit for a global conference was still just a Word doc. Some images, links, things like that, right? So I think it's helpful to know, like whatever level you're at, whatever you're comfortable working with in terms of tools, can still be super useful to get it out to people. Don't feel like, well, I don't know how we put all that up on our website. All right, just put it in a Google Doc, put it in a Word doc. But just like some 3 real practical examples. I'm also a fan of tools. Obviously, I don't have time to like train you on all these, so this is more like throw them out, give you something to explore after you leave here, right? I'm a big fan of Adobe Spark the last few years. It's been great. It allows you to create still images, right? Those like info snap sort of things. You can create videos in a couple different ways. You can create videos with absolutely 0 video footage. You can use text, icons, and it has something ridiculous like 50,000 icons you can pick from. And you can insert still images. You can adjust the animation. You can overlay some music, right? I made my mom and Mother's Day video in about 8 minutes on the couch using some pictures, some icons, and their music, right? It's a great tool, free tool, worth checking out. Another tool here, obviously it's a tool. I forgot to fill out the rest of that header. But for those interested in infographics, right? This is a pretty good tool. They've got a nonprofit pricing program as well. I think it was like $39 for a year, not per month, right? So it's like, well, what would it take to save $39 worth of my time? It might be worth it, right? So just another tool, great pricing, nonprofit option there for folks to check out. A couple of quick tips. Make it easy. Honestly, if it's not easy, people won't do it. So here's an example on the SOS Villages page. They want you to tweet it. If I click that button, it creates the window. It's already pre-populated the tweet. Like everything is in there. You can even embed your hashtags. Hello. Someone's joining for the next session. And so this is obviously a little more sophisticated, but just to give you some ideas of what's possible and where you can go. I'll do these things all the time because it's ridiculous. It's like 2 clicks and I've done my thing to help. Keep it relational, right? I will acknowledge they did not do the best job of putting text over an image and making it readable. But it says the powerful weapon you have is your voice. So back to our previous conversation, right? Sometimes the most important thing you can do is ask people to simply share. It really creates and reinforces the relationship of them as a champion, that you value them, that you also understand and that you know that they are a champion and they're engaged and support you at that level. Just keep that in mind, right? It's not about the transaction. Fundraising, we love to say, is that receipt email going out? Thank you, this is tax deductible. That is, well, I didn't give you 25 bucks because it was tax deductible. I'm not even gonna claim this thing. Did it because I wanted to connect with you as an organization. So please don't turn me into a transaction, right? I definitely won't be back after that. The last little things as you're heading out, right? I got to sneak in these like cheesy motivational images. Again, it's about progress. Don't do everything we talked about today. That'll be hectic for you. But what's 1 or 2 things, or something you tried last year and you're just continuing to improve and be better at it this year, right? I know it feels like a whole lot to take on, to learn, to do digital changes every day. But that one, right? Like where were you functioning 4 years ago? You weren't even participating in a given day event right now, you know, so give yourself the credit where it's due as well. Just like the index card activity, right? Simple video. Yeah, it could easily take you a month, right? So start thinking, obviously you're here at a training in July, so you are trying to, but just to reinforce. Not just the training, but the planning, developing your assets, like get on that stuff early because it always takes more time than you think. Or someone's on vacation for longer than you thought, right? Boring. He's not here with us, he's on paternity leave, right? We're not seeing that guy for a while. So if I was counting on him to get something done for this, like we got to shift. Better to do it now than September 16th. And then just this reminder, it's a fundraising event, but engaging your community and building those relationships is absolutely a valid goal that you should be keeping in mind. Right? Last thing, we have an in-person event happening in Portland. It's a tech roundup. It's just focused on digital strategy. So again, another opportunity, not much of a hard sell, but I would be negligent if I didn't mention that we have an event focused on some of this stuff that's come up. It's after Give More 24, but I'm guessing you use digital other times of the year, right? All right, it's like 1 minute over. All right, so thank you again. I'll come back after the next session. I know we got a little 10-minute break, right?
Yes.
10-minute break in 10 minutes. Stay on that schedule. Get outside, get your sunshine, get back inside. All right, thanks everyone. Do I need to do anything with the Zoom? Thank you.